A neighborhood is a place where people live and play, where they work and shop and go to school. Neighborhoods can be in different kinds of places, from large cities to suburbs to small towns and quiet countryside. Can you tell us about your neighborhood? Maria, can you tell us about where you live?
Sure. I live in a big city with my mom. Dad doesn't live with us anymore. My mom and I have an apartment. It's time for us to leave now. She goes to work and I go to school. Want to come? Mr. Gunther is our next-door neighbor. We're friends. We help each other sometimes.
Bye, Mom.
I'm lucky, because one of my best friends ever lives in the same building as me. Sarah and I usually walk to school together. Most of the buildings in our neighborhood are apartments. Each building has people from different families living in it. We have stores in the neighborhood that we depend on for many things. Most stores near us are small, and they're not open yet because it's so early. Sometimes I buy food here. Many people go to work at this time of day, by bus or car, or even on foot. It's rush hour now. The city streets are crowded, so you have to be careful. That's my dad. He's going to work now too. His home is in a completely different kind of neighborhood, with more houses than apartments, and not many stores nearby. He walks to the station, and then he takes a train to his job. He works in a factory, making parts for farm machinery. I don't know if you could say the factory is in a neighborhood exactly. There are no homes in that area. It's interesting, but it's not a great place for kids. Now, school is a good place for children, especially when you get there on time. Our school is very large, over 800 students, from kindergarten to 6th grade. After school and on weekends, we can play. I like living in a city neighborhood. Sometimes it's crowded, but I don't mind. I'm close to my friends and stores and school. It can be exciting and fun.
Here's a boy who lives in another kind of place. Keith, can you tell us about your neighborhood?
My neighborhood is part of a suburb. Suburbs are communities close to a city. Almost every family here has its own house, with a yard of trees, bushes, and grass. Lots of grass. I'm almost an expert on the subject of grass by now. I like having a yard. It's a tough job taking care of it, but it's a job that has to be done. My dad helps. We moved to this neighborhood a few years ago. We wanted to be away from the crowds and heavy traffic of the city. This neighborhood is quiet, except for my sisters and me. But we also wanted to be close to the city, because my dad works there. He leaves for work very early in the morning. His office is far away in the center of the city. Many adults who live in the suburbs actually work in the city, so they drive or take a train. Dad must drive during rush hour, when the streets are jam-packed with cars. You know what? One time Lucille and Letitia and I had a day off from school, so Mom took a day off from her job, and we all drove down to where Dad works. we got to see his office, which is high up in a skyscraper. The center of the city is full of big buildings. You can really see the city well from Dad's office window. Some people live here, right in the middle of all these buildings. I wonder where they play or go to school. Going to school is easy for me. Unless the weather is bad, I usually ride my bike with my friend Greg. We like to ride bikes so we can explore after school. That's the town hospital. My mom works there. Many people depend on her. Doctors, nurses, people in our neighborhood. Even though the hospital isn't very far from our house, my mom usually gets a ride to work with some other people because there is no bus. Another place we drive to is the shopping center. We do most of our shopping there, from groceries to toys. My sisters and I like to go to the mall because many different stores are close together there, with no cars around to worry about. I like my neighborhood in the suburbs. We're not too far from the city, but we also have some quiet areas, with yards and grass and good places to play.
Now let's go out in the country and find someone to tell us about that neighborhood.
My name's Steve. I'm Tanya. We live on a farm with our mom and dad.
Maybe compared to the city, this doesn't look like a neighborhood. Things are more spread out in the country.
Our nearest neighbor lives about a quarter of a mile away from us.
But still, we do call them our neighbors. Most people around here are farmers.
Dad says everyone in our family is a farmer because we all have our chores. Steve and I help with the animals.
But to tell you the truth, our parents do most of the work.
Yeah. Mom takes care of the family and some farm business.
And she waters the plants around the house. Dad does most of the work in the fields, and there's a lot of that work.
And he takes care of the machines and other things. He depends on all of us, and of course, we depend on him.
The people in our neighborhood all depend on each other.
Like when Mr. Luke down the road hurt his arm, we went over there to help him lay pipe. He helps us when we need it.
One thing he can't help us with is going to school. We ride the bus like most of the children who go to our school. We're lucky because we're one of the last stops the driver makes in the morning. Other kids have to get up very early and ride the bus for a long time.
Only the kids from town are close enough to walk.
Like most farmers, we drive into town to do our shopping. We have shops here you can't find in a city. Feed stores, and places to get your tractor fixed.
We may not have as many stores as people in large cities have, but we can find what we need. Mom likes to go into town because she usually runs into friends and catches up on any news. I love living in the country.
Me too.
It's fun to walk around. We see all sorts of things.
We get to see the plants grow and make vegetables and fruits. When a crop is ready, we pick it. We hire people to help. Then we sell the crop. It goes in trucks to many different places.
Sometimes I look at a strawberry that we grew, and I wonder, who's going to eat that? Where do they live?
Maybe it'll be someone far away, in a completely different neighborhood.
Maybe it will be Keith in the suburb, which is between the city and the country. Or maybe it will be Maria, who lives in the big city. Or maybe, just maybe, it will be you. Can you tell us about your neighborhood?